What if everything you've been told about willpower, the 4 a.m. alarms, white knuckling through things, that whole just do it mindset,
The grind.
right, the grind. What if all of that is actually destroying your ability to get things done? Because, I mean, usually when we talk about willpower, we just assume it's brute force,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
You stare down a piece of chocolate cake or some massive project at work, and you just force yourself to push through. We treat it like it's a muscle.
And, well, if you fail, it's treated as a moral failing, like you just didn't want it bad enough.
Exactly.
Our entire culture basically frames discipline around friction, around resistance. You're supposed to just grind against the grain.
Well, today we are throwing that entire brute force model completely out the window. We're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating 2007 essay by Shuifeng, and it's titled Willpower, the Energy of Ordered Consciousness. And I mean, this completely flips the script.
It really does.
Because according to this, willpower isn't a muscle you flex. It's a literal energetic force that is deeply tied to the structure of your consciousness and your understanding of the universe itself.
Which is wild, right? It moves willpower entirely out of the standard self-help aisle and places it squarely into the realm of almost like spiritual physics.
Yeah.
We're looking at a framework where willpower is treated as an equation. And most of us are walking around with massive leaks in our engine wondering why we can't get anywhere.
So for you listening, if you've ever felt totally burned out by that hustle culture advice to just, grit your teeth, or if you're stuck in this cycle of starting goals and dropping them, this deep dive is going to completely change how you view your own energy.
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can build unshakable willpower, we really have to look at its basic anatomy first. How does this framework actually define what willpower even is?
So to understand that, we have to look at the Chinese term for willpower, which is yizi. And this isn't just one monolithic concept. It's actually a compound word made of two very distinct pieces that, they have to work together.
Right. So the first part is yi. And yi represents the aspiration, like the pure desire. It's the target you're aiming at, essentially.
Yeah.
And the text uses this really vivid, specific example. It says, wanting to eat a ginseng fruit. That craving, that goal of actually getting the fruit, that is the yi.
But, I mean, just craving a fruit doesn't magically teleport it into your hand.
I wish.
Right. That's where the second half comes in, which is yi. And zi is the mental state. It's the sheer determination and the psychological fortitude required to figure out exactly how to fulfill that desire.
Right.
It's the commitment to problem solving your way to getting that fruit.
I kind of think of it like taking a road trip. If yi is plotting the destination on your GPS, yi is turning the key in the ignition and actually putting your foot on the gas.
That's a great way to put it.
Because without the GPS coordinates, you're just driving aimlessly, right?
Yeah.
But without the engine firing, the car never even leaves the driveway. You need both to generate actual movement.
Yeah, and that leads perfectly into the core thesis here. Willpower is fundamentally a form of potential energy.
Okay.
Imagine like a massive reservoir of water held back by a huge concrete dam. That water is just sitting there quiet, but it's incredibly heavy. It holds immense potential. That is your willpower just waiting to be used.
So it's totally intangible at that point. It's just stored capacity until you pull the lever.
Right. It only transforms into kinetic energy like moving, working, world-altering energy when it is expressed. And the source says this happens through specific channels.
Like what?
Speech, behavior, prayer, or visualization. When you engage in those actions, you are opening the spillway of that dam. The water cascades down from a height, hits the generator turbines, and suddenly, boom, you have power.
So the amount of kinetic energy you can generate in your life is entirely proportional to the capacity of your reservoir, right? And the hydraulic pressure you've built up behind that dam.
Exactly.
But wait, if we all have this reservoir, why is my tank seemingly running on empty by like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday while other people out there are powering entire cities? I mean, are some people just born with bigger dams, or are we leaking water somewhere?
That is the million-dollar question, and the source is very clear on this. The strength of your willpower, the depth of that reservoir, it's not about genetics. It is entirely dependent on the state of your consciousness.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking about two very specific states here, right?
Yeah.
Ordered versus chaotic.
Yes. An ordered, lucid consciousness creates this immense, resilient willpower. But a chaotic, confused consciousness creates a really shallow, leaky reservoir.
Let's pause and define ordered consciousness, because I don't know about you, but when I first hear that, I immediately assume it means keeping a color-coded calendar or having a rigid morning routine and knowing my exact 5-year plan.
Yeah, no, not at all. It goes so much deeper than productivity hacks.
Okay.
According to the text, an ordered consciousness requires a comprehensive understanding of the profound mysteries of the universe, of time, of space, and of lifelike, capital L-I-F-E.
Right.
It's a really deep recognition of life's value and its meaning.
See, I have to push back there a little bit because that sounds completely unapproachable. Like,
Mm.
are you saying that to have the willpower to just stick to my gym routine, I need to solve the mysteries of astrophysics and time travel?
I get why it sounds daunting, for sure. But think of it like zooming out on a map. Understanding time and space doesn't mean you need a PhD in quantum mechanics.
Good, because I definitely don't have one.
Right. It means having a perspective that is vastly larger than your immediate surroundings. If you understand how ancient the universe is and how massive space is, you suddenly realize that, the rude email you got this morning from your boss doesn't actually matter at all.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it acts as a filter.
Exactly. If your consciousness lacks that profound clarity, you just leak energy over every minor inconvenience. You panic, you second-guess yourself, you obsess over petty drama.
You're draining the reservoir.
Yes. But when you have that zoomed-out framework for why you are here and what actually matters, it dictates exactly what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It tells you what to focus on and, crucially, what to completely ignore. So your energy doesn't leak into existential dread. Your reservoir is sealed tight.
That makes total sense.
Mhm.
And so if we contrast that with the opposite state, if you lack this understanding of the universe and life's evolution, your consciousness is chaotic. You don't really know your purpose. So every minor obstacle feels like a life or death crisis because you just have no broader perspective.
And the metaphor the author uses for this chaotic state is incredibly visceral. A person operating like this is described as a headless fly.
A headless fly. Well, we all know someone like this, right? Maybe we've been this person.
Yeah.
Just aimlessly stumbling, buzzing around frantically, flying into the same closed window over and over again. They're busy, 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 but achieving absolutely nothing because they are totally bewildered.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how the illusion of willpower operates in these headless flies.
Oh, maybe.
Well, under favorable conditions, when the sun is shining, when the economy is great, when their friends are all cheering them on, even someone with a totally chaotic consciousness might look incredibly determined.
Right, because it's really easy to look like you have massive willpower when you're coasting downhill with a tailwind.
Exactly. But the true test is when the storm hits. When disruption or really severe hardship arrives, that weak willpower doesn't just bend, it completely shatters.
Because there's nothing behind it.
Right. The reservoir was shallow to begin with, the dam wasn't reinforced by any core philosophy, and the whole structure just washes away.
Okay, let's move this out of the realm of abstract physics and look at a real-world petri dish for this theory. Because the essay brings up this extreme case study of a community striving for a monumental, almost unfathomable goal. And it perfectly illustrates how these two types of consciousness play out when the pressure is really on.
Yes. We're looking at a group called Life Chanuan and its followers, who are known as the Chanuan Celestials.
Okay.
Their ultimate goal is reaching what they call the Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world. Now, regardless of what you might think of this specific theology or their ultimate destination, we're not taking sides here.
Right, we're just looking at the mechanics of their willpower as laid out in the text.
Exactly. The psychological dynamic observed within their ranks is really a masterclass in human behavior.
So the framework divides these followers into two distinct categories
Yeah.
based on how they handle this massive goal. First, you have the steadfast members.
Right. And these are the individuals with an ordered, lucid consciousness. They have consistently maintained that original aspiration to reach their destination since the day they started.
Because their worldview is deeply anchored.
Yes. It's anchored in a profound understanding of time, space, and life's meaning, so their reservoir of willpower is practically bottomless.
The claim made about them is wild, though. It says their willpower is so unshakable that even if an atomic explosion went off right beside them, they would remain calm and resolute.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, sitting calmly through a nuclear blast is a bit hyperbolic, but the underlying point is powerful.
It's the ultimate extreme to show that external circumstances, no matter how catastrophic or terrifying they get, cannot breach the structural integrity of a truly ordered consciousness.
Right.
The outside world does not dictate their internal weather.
But then we look at the other side of the coin, which is the weak followers. And the description of how they operate is so painfully recognizable in everyday life. Instead of contemplating the deeper meaning of their journey or reinforcing their own foundation, what are they doing?
They're constantly observing trends. They're, testing the waters.
Yeah, they are perpetually looking for a shortcut. They seek out supernatural powers, mystical arts, or they just use the group's platform to show off their own abilities to get applause.
They're completely distracted. They are the headless flies buzzing around looking for shiny objects.
Yep.
And because their consciousness is chaotic, their willpower is incredibly brittle. When they inevitably encounter a severe setback, or when a metaphorical storm rolls in, they just abandon their original aspirations completely. They quit.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though. They don't just quit and quietly go home to reflect. There's a deeply fascinating psychological insight here about what happens next. When these weak followers leave, they actually turn around and actively slander the Life Genuine group.
Yes, they attack the very thing they were dedicating their lives to just weeks prior.
And why do we do this?
Yeah.
Because, let's be real, this isn't just about this one specific group. You see this everywhere.
It's driven by vanity. It's a defense mechanism. They are seeking validation for their own failure, basically. So they try to rally other people to attack the group alongside them.
Oh, interesting.
The subconscious assumption is, if I can get enough people to agree with me that this goal was stupid or toxic, well, it proves that my decision to quit was correct.
It's a profound flipping of the script.
Yeah.
Usually when we see someone heavily criticizing a group, or like a fitness program, or an academic path that they just abandoned, we look at the external critique. We assume the program must have been flawed.
But this framework suggests we need to look inward instead. That external criticism, that intense slander, is actually a manifestation of their own internal weak willpower.
Wow.
They couldn't weather the storm, their reservoir ran completely dry. But their ego, their vanity, absolutely cannot handle the reality of their own structural weakness.
So they had to fabricate a narrative where the goal itself was the problem, not their lack of an engine. I mean, think about this in your own life for a second. Have you ever started a rigorous diet or a demanding new career path, and when it got too hard and you quit, you suddenly became the loudest voice talking about how unhealthy or overrated that path was?
It is a really tough mirror to look into.
It really is. Vanity is a very convenient shield when your internal reservoir is empty.
This brings us to a crucial boundary line, though. We've established that willpower is this incredible kinetic energy source. We know it's generated by sealing your reservoir through an ordered consciousness.
Right.
But there's a surprising hard limit to what this energy can actually achieve.
Yeah, because the natural assumption is, okay, if I seal my reservoir and I have this nuclear reactor level of willpower, I can just force any change in my life. I can power my way into becoming a completely different person.
Actually, no. And this is a huge reality check. Willpower is energy, but it is not structure. And willpower alone, no matter how immense it is, cannot alter structures.
To explain this, we get what I'm calling the peony principle. And it is such a beautifully grounded analogy.
So imagine a peony flower planted in your garden. You can give that peony all the water it could ever possibly absorb. You can buy the most expensive, nutrient-rich fertilizer on the market.
Right.
You are pumping it completely full of energy, but no matter how much you give it, it's still going to be a peony.
It's never going to magically transform into a rose. It's not going to become a towering oak tree. A heavily watered peony is just a wet peony.
Exactly. Its fundamental inherent structure doesn't change just because you flooded it with energy. And this applies directly to human life. The sheer strength of your willpower cannot, by itself, alter your non-material life structure. You can't just will your fundamental nature to mutate into something else.
So if willpower is the water and the fertilizer, what actually changes the DNA of the plant?
Only a transformation in consciousness can alter that non-material structure. Consciousness is the architecture. Willpower is just the electricity running through it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there's one final metaphor that synthesizes this entire dynamic beautifully. It compares willpower to the propulsion system of a ship.
Think of the most advanced, state-of-the-art ship imaginable. It has a perfect reinforced hull. It has satellite navigation equipment, the finest crew available.
Sounds great.
But if it doesn't have an engine, if it lacks propulsion, it can't leave the harbor. It's just a very expensive floating building.
Willpower is that propulsion. It's the absolute essential engine that pushes you through the massive waves, powers you through the storms, and drives you toward your destination. You simply can't make the journey without it.
But the consciousness is the ship itself. It's the structure of the hull that keeps you from sinking when things get rough, and it's the navigation system that determines where you are actually going.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive right now? If you're sitting there feeling like that headless fly, buzzing frantically, burning yourself out but getting nowhere, or if you're stuck in a cycle of quitting and then blaming your circumstances, the answer isn't to just scream at yourself to try harder.
No, definitely not.
It's not about forcing your engine to rev higher and higher while the boat is still securely tied to the dock.
The answer is to step back and order your mind. You have to clarify your understanding of your life's value, your broader purpose, and really zoom out to see the reality of the world around you. You have to build a seaworthy ship before you obsess over installing a bigger engine.
It's about sealing the cracks in your reservoir. Once you do that, when you finally apply that yi and zi, your pure desire and your unshakable determination, the energy flows exactly where it needs to go, turning into unstoppable kinetic power. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building on that ship metaphor. If willpower is purely the engine, the raw propulsion, and consciousness is the navigation system determining your route, what happens when we apply immense resilient willpower toward a fundamentally flawed or chaotic understanding of our own life's purpose?
That's a scary thought.
If your internal compass is completely broken, but your engine is running at absolute maximum capacity, does a stronger engine just drive the ship into the rocks faster? It's worth asking yourself today, are your current goals driven by a truly ordered consciousness, or are you just flooring the accelerator in the dark?